There is a specific kind of quiet that happens after you delete someone's number. Not sadness exactly. More like the silence in a room after a door closes softly. You told yourself it was the mature choice. You told yourself you were protecting your peace. And maybe you were, but somewhere underneath that clean final feeling, a smaller voice is asking a harder question. Why is it always easier to disappear than to explain? Most people think cutting others off is about being cold. It isn't. The people who do it most are often the ones who felt too much for too long. That is the part nobody tells you. Watch how it usually happens. Someone crosses a line. Maybe a friend forgets your birthday again. Maybe a partner says the wrong thing during an argument. And instead of a fight, something inside you just goes flat. The warmth switches off. You don't scream. You don't cry. You start planning your exit. To the other person, it looks sudden. To you, it has been building for months. Psychologists who study relationships have a name for this pattern. In family systems theory, it is called emotional cutoff. The idea is simple. When closeness starts to feel dangerous, distance becomes the only way to feel safe. You reduce the tension by reducing the connection. It works. That is the problem. It works so well that it becomes your first move instead of your last. So let me ask you something before we go deeper. When you cut someone off, are you walking away from them? Or are you walking away from a feeling you don't want to have? Here is the reframe. For a lot of people, cutting off is not aggression. It is armor. If you grew up in a home where conflict never got resolved, where an argument meant days of cold silence, or where love could vanish without warning, your nervous system learned something early. It learned that people are unpredictable and that safety means keeping your hand on the exit door. So you did. And you got good at it. This is where the story gets more honest. Cutting people off feels powerful. In the moment, it is the one part of the relationship you fully control. You couldn't control whether they hurt you, but you can control whether they ever get the chance again. That sense of control is intoxicating, especially for someone who spent years feeling powerless. But control and safety are not the same thing, and this is the contrarian truth at the center of all this. The people who cut others off the fastest are often the people who crave closeness the most. They don't leave because they stopped caring. They leave because they cared so intensely that the fear of being abandoned first became unbearable. So they abandon. It is a preemptive strike against a wound they have already felt too many times. Let's slow down and look at what is really happening in the body. When you feel emotionally threatened, your brain doesn't wait for a calm debate. It shifts into a protective mode. Your thinking narrows. The person in front of you stops looking like someone you love and starts looking like a source of danger. In that state, walking away feels like survival, not choice. That's why the decision to cut off can feel so absolute in the moment and so complicated the next morning. Now, here are the signs this pattern might be running your life more than you realize. See how many feel familiar. The first sign. You have a mental list. Almost everyone you have removed sits on it, filed under a reason. And the reasons are usually real. But if the list keeps growing, the common thread might not be them. It might be the exit strategy you reach for every time closeness gets hard. The second sign. You go from warm to gone with almost nothing in between. There is no middle setting. No hard conversation. No slow drift. One day they are in your life. The next day they are a stranger you used to know. The switch is instant, and afterward, you feel strangely calm. The third sign. You rehearse the goodbye long before you say it. You imagine the conversation, the closure, the clean break. Sometimes you leave in your head months before you leave in real life. By the time you actually go, you have already grieved them. The fourth sign, and this is the quiet one. After you cut someone off, you don't feel free. You feel empty. The peace you were promised doesn't fully arrive, because the thing you were running from was never really the other person. It was the vulnerability of needing anyone at all. If a few of those landed, stay with me. Because the last sign is the one that changes everything, and I want to get there in a way that actually helps. Here is what most advice gets wrong. People will tell you to just stop pushing others away, as if awareness alone rewires a survival instinct. It doesn't. You cannot logic your way out of a pattern your body built to keep you alive, but you can start to loosen its grip. Gently. One small choice at a time. Start with the pause. The next time you feel that familiar flatness, that urge to delete and disappear, Don't act on it right away. Just notice it. Name it. Tell yourself, this is the old alarm going off. It doesn't mean the relationship is over. It means I feel unsafe right now. Naming the feeling puts a tiny gap between the trigger and the reaction. And in that gap is where a different choice can grow. Then try the smallest possible version of staying. You don't have to pour your heart out. You don't have to fix everything in one conversation. You just have to not vanish. Send one honest sentence. Say, I felt hurt by what happened, and I need a little time. That single line does something radical. It keeps the door open while still protecting you. It proves to your nervous system that closeness and safety can exist in the same room. And here is the reframe that matters most. Not every relationship deserves to be saved. Some cutoffs are wise. Some people really are unsafe, and leaving them is the healthiest thing you will ever do. This isn't about forcing yourself to tolerate harm. It is about learning the difference between a boundary and a wall. A boundary says this is what I need to stay. A wall says no one gets in at all. One protects your peace. The other slowly builds your prison. So the real work isn't to stop leaving. It is to start choosing. To go from a reflex you can't control to a decision you actually make. That shift from armor to awareness is where the healing lives. Here's the last sign, the one I promised. The deepest sign that this pattern has roots isn't how easily you leave. It is how much you still think about the people you left. If they truly meant nothing, they wouldn't visit your mind at 2 a.m. The ache you feel isn't weakness. It is proof that the part of you that wanted to stay never actually died. It just got outvoted by the part that was scared. And that part of you, the scared one, isn't your enemy. It kept you safe when you had no other tools. You don't need to hate it. You just need to teach it something new. That not everyone leaves, that some doors are safe to walk through, that you are allowed to be known. So maybe the question was never, why do you cut everyone off? Maybe the